Hi guys, welcome to the Fashion Law podcast by the Africa Fashion Law. My name is Annie Oti, and today we have two fabulous, amazing lawyers in the house. We have Mali and we have Bolore, and today we're going to be talking about commercializing fashion creativity. You know, doing it the right way, starting your business the right way, like the general process that you should have in place in your business. So, how are you doing today, Mali?
Hi, Annie. I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me for this podcast.
Thank you for being here. Such a great pleasure to have you here. So, interesting thing about Mali is that we've been working together in several capacities in African fashion law, and she's a legal consultant. She has provided several insights to several brands, and it's just so amazing to have her here because we're going to be talking about so much. And I hope that this particular episode helps, like fashion creatives, and they can learn from it legally and also from the business perspective. So, Bolore, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fine. Good morning. Thank you.
Is it morning?
Sorry, afternoon. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
And yeah, Bolore also, she has been working, supporting the African fashion law. You check out our page, you'll see Bolore everywhere. Everywhere. So today's conversation is just going to be an interesting one. We are very, passionate about helping the fashion industry and just seeing the industry grow in general. So first off, I think I'll just ask Mali, can you just share your journey, how your legal journey has been and how it led up to fashion law?
Okay, so after I got my LLB certificates from University of Sussex, and then I came back to attend the Nigerian law school. I did Bar 1, the usual.
Yeah.
And then Bar 2, I finished that. But to be fair, I struggled a bit. I was like, all these areas of law, I'm not really interested in it. So where's my place in this legal world? I didn't really want to be in litigation or all the other traditional areas of law. And then I was like, okay, let me look for who does fashion law. Or first of all, I figured out that there was something called fashion law, and then I was like, let me look for someone that does fashion law in Nigeria. And then Annie popped up as the first name in Nigeria. So I decided to reach out to her and
Me.
to you. I decided to reach out to you. Yeah. And then, you gave me a warm reception. And then, you said, okay, let's get on a call. Tell me what you like, blah, 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 all of that. And so ever since then, we've been working together. I would say that I've learned a lot on the journey with working with you, and also just honing my skills in intellectual property law, just knowing that there's a more fun side to law. So that's really what pulls me into the fashion law as a whole. Yeah, just knowing that it doesn't have to be serious. You can move around. You can still bring it to the serious parts of law. Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah, so I think I would make my question different to Bolore because I see Bolore is Mali's my friend, Bolore is my friend, but Bolore, we have background relationship before fashion law. It was not fashion law that led us to. So I'll say Bolore has always been supportive, with the journey. So how has it been, every time you come through for our creative legal clinic and you see how, creatives are, and definitely I've seen how passionate you are, always working with the creatives either ways, trying to support them, providing insights about their businesses. So I'll say, tell me your journey, how it has been so far.
Oh, okay. So of course I went to University of Benin for 5 years, got my law degree, law school, and then so I met Annie. We didn't meet on, as she said, we didn't meet on I'm looking for, I have an interest in fashion law and I'm looking for someone that I can work with. We just met on the neutral ground, and then she said, I'm into this. I was like, that's very interesting because I did IPL in school, so I always wondered how that would go and on. Then we just had conversations over friends. So whenever she's having a seminar or legal clinic, she would tell me. I said, okay, no problem, I'll come through. And I learned a lot from relating with creatives because I see the vacuums,
the loopholes
areas in the fashion industry that actually need legal support So it's as much as I am educating the creatives I see in the legal clinics I've been to with African fashion law. I'm also learning a lot from it as well because I also have a special interest in. Like I was telling Annie the other day, that even though I have a job now, I'm working in a translation company. I would also like to, try a different industry, completely different industry, maybe fashion. That's in fashion or beauty. So so I'm really enjoying the ride.
Yeah, and Alte has been an interesting one. So
Yeah.
Alte, apart from the legal scope, right? Alte personally coming into fashion law, I saw that initially I thought it was just IP. I thought it was just IP. Then I saw our industry, like the industry that we have in Nigeria. And it seemed as if, like Bolore mentioned, there is a lot of loopholes. Like the loopholes are unending. You speak to businesses and you see businesses have issues from their structuring, business planning. They don't have IP protected. They don't work with contracts. And if they're working with contracts, it's like contracts that don't have, I would say some people just want one pager. Because they want it to be fancy.
And it's so funny how you I don't know, they just take, for lack of a better word, take it for granted. Because
Yeah.
they just feel like, okay, this is what I want to do. I don't need to do it. It's too legal. When people hear law, legal, they think of courts.
Yeah, and it's not just that.
It's not just that. It's a whole lot. It's the structure of your business. It's how you present yourself to your investors. It's in your contracts, even down to your invoices. I mean, the other day I was talking with one of the creatives at the legal clinic, and he was talking about how payment terms, how he would send an invoice, and he would tell them, "Oh, these are my payment terms," and they won't get back to him whether it's valid. And I said, they were like, you send an email, they won't acknowledge it, but then they will just call him and tell him, "Oh, we've seen your email." And he asked me if that's valid, and I said, no, they have to respond to your email. And if you're in the event that they don't pay you your money or you don't send an invoice and then send your payment terms separately, you put it in your invoice.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to put it as part of it because that invoice alone is also a contract.
Exactly.
But they don't think of it like that. They just think, oh, this is the money that you're paying. No, this is your payment terms when you sign it. And you acknowledge that I have seen this invoice. I will get back to you. I mean, you've seen it. That's like you agreeing to it verbal. That's like verbal endorsement. Yeah. So all of that comes into play, but nobody will think of it like that.
Yeah, like even with what I say, websites, you see issues around policies, you see issues around terms and conditions. Like the issues are unending, and generally based off of the topic of commercializing the fashion creativity in Nigeria, the law plays a crucial part in that aspect. So I hope that, with this conversation, we're going to, just break it down and just do so much justice. There's a whole lot. Okay, so first of all, I'll just ask, like, what are the legal issues that you have seen over time, like we're interacting with creatives? So what are like some of the issues that you've seen? Like just pinpoint it, yes, with law there's the whole confidentiality and all. So we're not disclosing anything. Everything here is hypothetical. So we are protected. So
Okay, so I think one thing that always flags up with like every creative that we talk to is copying. They complain that they design their outfits and then they put it out there on social media, and then next thing they're saying it on someone else's page. Apart from that, I guess it's also another problem is education, because just like what she said, people don't know enough to say, okay, this business that I'm starting, it's big, it's an asset to me, and I need to show people that it's important to me. But they don't know how to go about protecting it, how to go about even giving their business the right structure to reach out to investors and to get them to be interested. And they also don't know how to make their fashion businesses like set it up as a legacy.
Yeah.
Because you can see someone like, okay, let's bring it down to the brands that we know. Let's just say the Pradas, Gucci's, blah, blah, blah. It started from somewhere, but you can see that it's gone past
the person, continuity.
And that's because they put a lot into their brand, their marketing, making people feel like it's luxurious. So whenever you say, you're like, this is a brand I want because I've seen the name, I want it to be on my outfit, I want everybody to know I'm rich, especially in Nigeria, So So a problem I would say is copyright, and also ensuring that they put the right intellectual property or the
In
right
place.
protections exactly in place.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'll speak on that because the concept of, IP is something that's oftentimes you hear creatives talk about, their particular design is being copied and all. But in developing a business, it starts from the beginning. You have to have structure.
Yeah.
It's important to have structure, and having a structure comes with having an intellectual property portfolio. That's when you decide, okay, let me start with having a trademark protection, because people complain about the whole copying culture, but over the years we've seen that in the fashion industry is based off of trends. And it is fast, it is fast. Before you close your eye, you open your eye, another design is out. You check, another design is out. It is fast moving. So most brands, what they build on most often is trademarks. They build up on their trademark first off, and they are able to maybe even license that trademark. So that's Prada, like we're talking about. Prada has a brand name that people resonate with. It has brand equity. People would always resonate with it. So it's making people understand the importance. Have an IP portfolio while you're building your business. Start up with having your trademark registered. And if you have your trademark registered, you're building up a brand, right? So I feel that's it's a primary knowledge that people need to understand, because it's a long-term mission, especially in the concept of legacy and continuity. So Bolore, what other issues would you say you've seen, apart from the invoice issues, what other issue would you say you've seen with creatives?
Like Mali said, protecting their designs. Because I remember when I spoke with someone that's into Adire. I don't know if you remember, and she.
We're not talking about people.
It's just
hypothetical.
Yeah, hypothetically. Hypothetically, someone that's into a particular type of design, like Adire, and then they want, and apparently, I don't know very much about Adire. I just know that they're very nice, they're very pretty.
Yeah, mine one Adire.
Yes, one. But apparently, there are specific designs with Adire, and the designers that typically know.
Okay.
I think they prefer to have a kind of protection for that pattern, so that they can be the only people that can use that pattern. But the thing is tricky, because when it comes to trademark and protecting designs, the law says colors. Nobody owns color. Nobody owns shapes. No, it's only how they are expressed, and that also comes into play, because it's something. If it's something so that's already generalized, you can't now just come and say
it's mine.
It's mine.
Yeah. So
that one is also that's also there. I was reading something yesterday about I don't want to name names, but he has a design, and I think they use it in a movie, and he complained that they didn't. It's already trademarked. So.
Oh yeah. So, I think we do the movie.
Yeah. So. So I think that's. Mali.
Okay. Something about Africa though.
Yeah, something about Africa. African America. So anyway, so I think that's one of the challenges of protecting the designs, and I think the law should have a more straightforward way of doing that. Even though they can't, the colors and the shapes can't be bound. At least let's find a way to protect the expression of these colors, these elements of design. Another issue is it's at the tip of my tongue. It's actually, like you said, the structure of the business. I think that
it's a primary.
Yeah, it's a problem, because I feel like sometimes the person may even have the intention of registering the business, whether if it is a one-man business or
as a business name, yeah.
But then there's a little bit of dilemma, sorry, and then work starts, the person gets distracted with other things, and he just goes on like that because they've not felt the need to actually do that. So maybe and they see an investor, and then they start rushing through it, but you've already missed some parts of it. And the gray areas will be in how your business has been run till this very day. So I feel like that's also an issue, the structure of the business, employee contracts.
Yeah, like communicating with...
Communicating the basis of employment with the employees. Even if I honestly feel like as long as you have an employee, even if it's one, there should be an employee policy.
Yes.
That they have to go by, like in school we call it prospectus. Yeah, employee policy that they have to, handbook that they have to go by. Aside, because in the employee agreement, it also refers to the terms in the employee handbook, and the employee will have to sign that handbook that they've received.
Yeah, exactly.
So they'll know what they are guided by, not just payment terms, confidentiality in the agreement, but then the day-to-day, year by year management of that employee is in that handbook. So that's also there, and I feel like that's not the case. That's an issue. There's another one, confidentiality too, because in seen areas where maybe a designer has tailors, and then they hire tailors to sew for them. Something happens, the employee leaves, and then starts feeding their ideas to other people, new people that they're working
or even creating. You see people that even start a new business based off of the previous ideas.
It's an issue too. So confidentiality.
Okay, so I believe, like, speaking on what you just talked about, I believe that structure is primary. Like, businesses should always look into the aspect of having structure, especially with the view of continuity, like legacy, having a legacy. Because once someone starts a business and the person is not, thinking long term, then the person wouldn't run the business in a way that would be structured. And even for businesses that have started, right, it's still possible to put structure in place, to have business processes. And sometimes you hear people that they feel it's a lot of work. Honestly, like personally, I'm a business owner, Valeria, business owner, Mali, the process, how we work. It can be stressful. You're busy, like a lot of things are going on, but you still need to develop business processes. That's why you have legal professionals. That's why you have business professionals. Yeah, I'll just keep it.
Yes, not just when trouble comes.
Exactly. You hear people say often that, they just want to work with lawyers when there is trouble. But honestly, actually, I try to avoid situations like that, because I feel that have your documents in place. Have a lawyer that will prepare your documents and you are protected, because that's what I feel law is about,
And beforehand, not because the whole point of it is that you put the, in quotes, protection in place before the problem comes, so that when it does come, you're like, okay, I've done my homework, so whatever happens, all my all my certificates are there. The only thing is that when I now have to prove that it's mine, in the case of fashion, then you've done everything.
Yeah, because sorry. Because I feel like, in as much as lawyers, I feel like a lawyer, or having a lawyer at every step of your business or transaction, it's quite key. In as much as you can't really, there's a human factor of unpredictability of whether or not the person actually lives up to what has been agreed. But I think that it is always best to always involve a legal professional at every stage of a transaction, so that all these things will be premeditated, and when it gets to the point of dispute is the last resort. It's meant to be the last resort of things like dispute resolution, and even then you can even be in control of how that dispute will be resolved. So having a lawyer at first, basically what I'm saying, like having a lawyer at every stage of transaction is important, not when the dispute arises. So that you can always be in control of every aspect of it. And having a lawyer in every aspect of a transaction also helps. The lawyer sees different events that may happen.
Foresight,
Yeah,
right?
they foresee everything.
Not that they're
may
prophets.
happen. Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's sometimes when I'm drafting agreements, because I'm seeing it. You see everything that could happen, what could happen if it's like this, what happen if it's like that, and then we create clauses to protect the interest of the parties involved. So it's important.
We can't drum it in enough.
Yeah.
No, definitely. So, oftentimes you hear, I'm going to talk about contracts now. You hear people say, oh, this is my friend. I don't really need a contract, or we've talked about it. That's okay. I don't really need a contract. And then, like, you talked about dispute. Then dispute arises, and next thing they're just going straight to going to court, right? Because there is no clear term. So, like, what would you say is the role of contracts with businesses? I feel that's like the question is supposed to be basic, but
it's not really.
It's not really.
Having a contract in your business,
in every area.
It's so important. Can't stress it enough. Really, the contract in every transaction is like the Bible of the transaction, because you have to always refer to it whenever something happens. What did we say when we agreed in this contract? Or if this person can't pay me at this time, or if there's if there's a sudden unforeseen event like
force majeure,
hurricane, God forbid, for example, you have to go back and say, okay, what did the contract say? If this happens, the person is not even in control of their own indebtedness. What's going to happen? It's really important. It's really important because it guides the parties in the transaction. It protects the interests of the parties in the transaction. It makes sure that the transaction it controls the liability.
Exactly.
In the transaction as well, and it also controls the liability of each party in that transaction, because that's where indemnity comes in.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important, because if there's any little misunderstanding between the two parties now, and they go back, because it happens even in my work. So, like, the parties one says, oh, this is what we want, and they say, no, this is not what we agree. And that party now says, but that they will even say that is what is in it. So now I say, okay, let's look at.
And people forget easily. That's what people forget. Like, people forget things easily.
Forget things easily.
And
I guess that's the power.
People forget things easily, and that's why it's also good to make sure that your agreements, your contracts are saved in the cloud and digital, even if it's signed. Try to have it scanned and kept in a folder in your computer or in the cloud, so that it's paper. You cannot really try paper. The print.
Sometimes it's like, where is it?
It can fade.
Where's the agreement?
It can be close to the window. It will rain. It will worse. Start getting blurry. So it's not very reliable. Thank God for technology.
Thank God for technology.
Because I really don't know how they were doing it then.
They had a lot of papers.
Yeah, they had a lot of papers. So you have to refer, and in my office, we just refer to it. We just pull it out in the folder in the computer, and sometimes we just send a screenshot of that clause and send it back to the person.
Like, see and remember.
See or remember.
Yeah.
So it's really important. So.
Yeah, it is.
I guess another thing is that it's binding. That's the whole point of it.
Exactly.
And then it's also important that it's being signed, so that when you go back, you don't say this person, because if it was word of mouth like those days, it's easy to say, no, I don't remember, you didn't say that. But when everything is on paper or, on cloud, with these days of technology and all of that, then
it's easier, and you can always make reference. So, like, for fashion creatives, I'll say that they have businesses have different stage. There's the concept stage. There is the stage where they have a bit of stability, and there is the stage they need to expand. So for businesses in the concept stage, what type of agreements would you say they need? Like, there's the employment agreement, but like what other agreements would you say they would need?
So that's like the beginning.
Yeah,
stages.
like well started.
I would say, for example, if they wanted to work with someone else, then there's like a co-founder.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just say if there was a business in Nigeria, two businesses, let's just say, and then they wanted to come together,
merge or
just two people coming together. There's a partnership agreement. There's a joint venture agreement. There's some times when someone is just starting up their business as a fashion designer, and they don't know what to do. There's like, I don't have enough money for a shop space or whatever. So there's something called a consignment agreement where you can put your products in another person in an existing shop space, just to showcase and see how their customers react to your products. So that's another way to go about it. And in that case, you set the terms of this consignment. You're sure about where it ends, how much money you're getting, how much money the person is.
The percentage, yeah.
So there are different stages of it. Like Valerie mentioned earlier, there's the employment contract or employment agreement. If you're starting out and you have the funds, you have your employees, then it's good to put that in place so that subsequent people, as they come in, they sign it, they understand this is how it is in this
organization. Yeah.
So those are a few I can think about.
Yeah, and like I'll say that's like I think you covered everything for the beginning stage, but then like when brands have like a bit of stability and they intend to expand, and I think we will talk about the investment agreements, then licensing agreement. I think the licensing agreement comes in between while they're building their IP portfolio and whatnot. So it comes in between. Then there is the non-disclosure, because you hear oftentimes people have issues with confidentiality, especially with their employees. They have issues with confidentiality, and it's crazy here, honestly. Okay. The way people, just share details that they've signed on. So like, what would you say as regards to that? How can people protect their work? Yes, there's the non-disclosure agreement, but is there like a particular clause? Is there just something that they can do? Because people sometimes seem very frustrated at what maybe employees are doing or how they'll take their ideas out, and then they have to like go to courts for years chasing the employee. Or what would you say?
I think it's just a case of like whatever you put there in the contract. I mean, there's still a probability of someone still doing it, especially in Nigeria, and you don't want to put all your money into chasing that person in court. I think honestly, it would be I think it's the structure that you put in place, and I think you also need to ensure that you need to like cross your T's and dot your I's in terms of knowing the people that
knowing the type of people
that
you're bringing
with.
In.
But apart from that, I guess it's also letting them know. I feel like in Nigeria, people don't take, especially in the fashion industry, they don't take protecting their work as seriously, and that's why there aren't as many cases about fashion in court.
Oh, but there are cases of sort of.
But
not like it's not like it's not as loud as the other cases. Let's put it like that.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And most times, it only stops at the, let's just say, what's it called, the mediation stage. It doesn't really move on to court.
Yeah.
So, I think when people start taking it seriously, because when we do speak to people at the exhibitions and all of that, they tend to say, is it really going to work? This is, can you really stop anybody from copying? Of course, you can't stop people from copying, but the point is that as you're creating your work, you've put certain things in place so that even when you create that like particularly unique design that you're like, this one is going to make me blue. Then you know that, okay, I've put everything in place. That's your certificate. You know that your it's unique. Your consumers know you by that particular design. You know that you can what's it called? You have all the evidence in place.
So I would agree with you on the aspect of structure because like even with designs, I feel that people can put systems in place, like treat their designs as trade secrets.
Yeah.
And that's like we having a system in place, having processes with how you disclose your work. Like there are companies that, okay, with fabrics is just a particular group of people that are aware of, sourcing where they source fabrics from. It's a trade secret to how they source fabrics. Then there's some people, they know how, okay, this is maybe a particular design that makes their work distinctive. It's just a group of people that are aware of it. So it's like having, clear processes, having a structure in place and just treating things as trade secrets, then also employing the right set of people, right? So I'll say with this age now that we're in, there is a whole lot of I'll say businesses on the internet. Like to sell, you need to be on the internet. Like everything now is based off of technology, digitalized. And with being on the digital space, now we have the Data Protection Act in Nigeria. But like with being on the digital space, there are basic things that businesses are supposed to have in place. We can't just, you see businesses that will just put no refund, no exchange. Don't call me. You've gotten the other. Just call with the other. Don't do like you see that often. But then there are laws as regards to not just how you relate to your customers, right? But also businesses are dealing with a lot of data, right? Businesses are dealing with a lot of information about their customers, like where people are disclosing private information, like disclosing your house address is a major thing. So like we're building a fashion e-commerce brand, which almost every business is doing right now. What are the documentations? What documentations do you think that they should have in place?
I know that the major goal for the data protection law in Nigeria is that whatever business or e-commerce whatever business has a website, for example, and is dealing with people's data and all, they should always be the person should always be aware that this is what, but we may use your data to understand your preferences, so we can use to tailor the ads that will be sent to you,
so that's like with the
products that you see. So the person has to be aware that this is the person has to be aware of what you're going to use their data for, even if it is just as innocent as just storage for record purposes. So that is what you see in
privacy policies, the cookie policies.
And, whenever you go on your website, you see it.
Accept cookies.
Accept cookies. Thank you. Accept cookies. So you see that, and then that's the privacy policies basically. And there's always a term T&C applies things at the end. And then even when you're paying online, the issue of you, because honestly, I don't like to use my card details when I'm paying online because I'm afraid. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting.
I have it.
What's the phobia there?
I don't know. I just feel like there's so much on the internet. I feel like once it's there,
it's there.
So even if they say, we'll take your card details, treat it with confidentiality and all of that. I feel like it's already in your database. So if you want to use it,
so like the hacking, hacking system.
For hackers too.
But I think that comes down to businesses, having like softwares against antivirus, like for their businesses to ensure that they're protecting their clients' interests. But most times when you read like, let's say privacy policies, you'll see there that will tell you it is you. It's on you, right? So like, but still like businesses are supposed to have antivirus like softwares and like, just basic things to protect their clients, their customers, especially when they are on the internet, because like you mentioned, there's a whole lot going on. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of data connection and all. Like there are people that are very smart that can hack into anything. So there is that fear point for a lot of people actually. But I feel like equally for businesses, it's just important that businesses have their terms and conditions, they have their privacy policies, they have their cookie policies. Like your terms and conditions, for instance, would say this is what the customer is getting. This is the age you should be, right? The terms and conditions will say, okay, this is how you're releasing with the product. This is all the delivery terms, just basic things. And then you should have your return policy. You see people having issues, or return and refund policy. People have issues with that. Like, you don't know, if you don't state, you see businesses like they don't state what is damaged or defective.
I think that the data protection part is also it's most crucial when you're as it's most crucial at this stage of transaction on the internet, and they're letting them know at every stage. At this stage, this is what is going to happen. Are you okay with this? With this is the information you're keying in any information, your name, your address.
Yeah.
When they say, okay, this is what we're going to use it for, and then I don't want to call any names, but there are some shopping sites, some shopping apps that when you purchase from it, you even see that they're already using your data, because let's say you buy a handbag or a book. No, it's a handbag. It's versus fashion. A handbag, for example. And then you notice that after you've bought that handbag, it's from then on, any ad that pops up on your phone, you're seeing ads about bags. Even on Instagram, when you view once they call it the algorithm, I don't know the algorithm. Sorry, thank you. Once it sees that you're viewing particular posts, it now keeps referring.
Things there, and it's personalization. That's just,
and that's also data that you're using of you, of your activities on that platform.
Yeah, so like I'll say like with business owners, it's just important that they are aware that it's not just, let's say, Instagram that is handling data. They are equally handling data in their own capacity. They're handling data with their customers. So it's important that they have like basic documentations in place. They should have like I said, terms and conditions, the privacy policy, the cookie policy, the return and refund policies, and also there are several clauses in the return and refund policies where you would equally cater to products that are damaged, defective, and you would give like a timeline. Like, it's just great to have it in place, because equally for delivery, people want to know the timeline. When am I getting, like when I buy products, and if it's not like up to par for what I want to know when I'm getting my money back, or when I'm going to get like an alternative product, or when I can return the product. Like, that's just, and with the way this time is, right, everything is fast, everything happens so fast, everything is so fast paced, so people want to know now, like I want to know now. And it's part of customer relationship that you have all these things in place. You can't say no refunds, no exchange.
Don't just disturb me after you've paid. Don't disturb me again.
Like, you can't actually do that as a business. There are laws that protect the customers, and it's just that people are not fully aware that they are protected, right? There are laws that are protecting the customers, and if you're building your business, long term, or someone is building a business for the long term, they need to ensure that they have things in place, right? Because your customers would go on Google My Business and put reviews. And next thing, people are seeing it and they're like, okay, this person is not honest, this person is not genuine. And based off of that, people are not going to buy. So please have the documentations that you need in place. So now we have, the influencer market. Right, there's a whole lot of influencing now, like with social media, and like with social media now, there's influencing. I can repeat myself. So, what would you say businesses should have in place when dealing with influencers?
Okay, from the business point of view, I think definitely having a collaboration agreement or something, or some sort of contracts or whatever, in place when you're dealing with an influencer. And I think it's important to take note of like the duration or like the scope of the agreement. What are you inviting this influencer for? Is it a project? Is it some sort of campaign? So just describing whatever it is, and then seeing what's the amount of time that you're going to use this person for. And I guess also having copyrights in place.
IP.
Yes, IP. So how long are you going to use this person's face or videos for? When the contract or agreement terminates, are you still going to make use
is
of
it
that
long
content
term
or not? Exactly.
content?
And then apart from that, also, what standards rather are you going for as a brand?
Yeah.
Does that person fall in line with that? Can you guys work together? Subsequently. And apart from that, I guess also setting down in terms of like monetary terms.
Very important.
So that the person doesn't come back and say, oh, but this or but that, and you're looking. Apart from that, is there any other thing I don't think there's really any other thing that comes to mind, unless it's like a specific agreement for something else. But these are like the general
clauses and all. So oftentimes you see people complain that maybe they don't get their the delivery that they expected, or so that would equally be in the agreement. Thinking about that would equally be in the agreement. And I feel that people should treat that situation beforehand, because you see oftentimes, especially online, you see people complain that they paid for this, but this person is not delivering up to this standard. And like you said, the scope should be duly covered so that they're delivering this number of posts. This is the timeline. This is the duration. This is what would amount to a termination. And this is like, what would amount this is what we would expect back and all, right? Then also, like you mentioned, the IP clause is very key, especially for influencers. Sometimes with agreements, some people just sign and they don't know that they're giving their face for a long period of time, and it's not for a certain duration, it's for an extensive period of time. Some people it's for life, right? But they are not aware.
To ask a question about that. So let's paint a scenario where there's an influencer, there's a brand, and then there's an agreement that the influencer is going to advertise the brand on his or her platform for, let's say, 2 months. And then after that 2 months elapses, the ads, in quotes, or the promotions that the influencer has made for that brand during that 2 month space, is the brand now, what happens what happens when the brand keeps using that promotion even after the 2 months has elapsed? Like keeps using it continuously. Is it now a breach of the agreement, or will that be capsulized in the agreement that they're going to have? Because like you said, it's basically a forever thing, because it's somehow to tell someone that I paid you to advertise a dress for me, even though you're not advertising it for me anymore. I'm still using a promotion because it's mine, because it's my dress. I paid you for it. I have the right to use whenever I want. I think that's the issue of IP. That's
IP.
And I think that's an issue for some.
And the thing is, sometimes people don't discuss it at length. Like people just have a generic term because they don't discuss it at length. Because for, let's say, faces now, to an extent, you can have it for like a duration, right? You can have it for a duration. And because a long-term, promotion would be more expensive than a short-term promotion. But then equally, like, sometimes influencers are not aware that it comes to that, right? So even for fashion businesses, influencers, they're supposed to be aware of, short-term, long-term, IP clause. Like, it is very important because their brand, their trademark is their name, their face. And generally, they're supposed to be, conscious of that fact that that's their business. Yeah.
I take, for example, now, and I feel like it's not just with influencers. It's on regular people too that are in ads. Like, I remember this advert I used to see with one soap. I can't call the name, but there's this soap advertisement that it's a beauty soap. And I've known it since I was a child, and as I kept seeing it for years, I would constantly see it. And then at one point, I just thought to myself, do they just, is this thing now, is this just a one-off payment? These people that
Yeah.
they're still using for their promotions, are they still paying them now that they're still using it even after so many
Yes.
I think, I mean, it's in the agreement, or most times people don't mind because it helps their business too.
Yeah, sometimes
Even
people
if
just, sometimes people just sell their initial rights. Like, there's the blow culture. I want to blow, I want to blow, I want to blow.
So as long as this brand is
It's
putting your
blowing,
face out
and
there,
which is
like,
not
okay.
bad. Like, I feel that sometimes you have to sacrifice in order to step forward, right? But be sure and be conscious of the fact that be aware that, okay, I'm sacrificing my IP at this point for this platform, right? And eventually after this platform, I can build from there.
Yeah.
But not that, you're not aware, and because sometimes people just move from the point of not being aware and conscious of the fact that, okay, I have an IP. I have a possible trademark, right? Or I have a possible copyright, and I am giving this to this person to make use of. I'm not speaking on terms, I'm not speaking on, so it's an extensive thing. But I feel then, like back in the days, people were not aware. People were not aware. People were not aware, but I believe everybody should be aware now because we're doing this. We're doing this. Be aware.
The thing is, you'll be surprised because now there is this instantaneous, like this strong what's the word when you want to is
The zeal, craving.
Yeah, so make it now.
Yeah, the
Like,
fast-paced culture now.
We're not patient in our generation. We want everything to happen now. So I think that's in as much as there's so much information at the tip of our fingers.
Yeah.
People don't want to just take their time to understand what they're getting into and be aware of it and try to do things on the terms that they're most comfortable with. Because they feel like, oh my god, if I take
opportunity comes, but
they're just going to find somebody else, and I want it now.
Yeah.
So I don't think that people. I feel like it has not changed since.
Hasn't changed per se.
Unless they actually talk to someone about it or a lawyer, and the lawyer tells them, "Oh, this is it," and even then they will not want to listen. They'll just say no.
Yeah, and end up doing what they want.
I want to do it. It's now. They leave me.
There was this stuff that I saw where a popular artist, I'm not going to mention any name, so now I think we're going into music a bit. So there was like, oh, go get your lawyer, and they're like, oh, I don't need a lawyer. I'm like, okay, you don't need a lawyer, no problem. Because the thing is, there are the clauses, there are things that you should understand. Sometimes people feel that IP is just, the clause is just generic, but there are thoughts to it. Like Valerie mentioned, foreseeing, we have to like think forward to see what can possibly be, or what situation can possibly occur, and then put the right clauses in place to help brands, to help creatives protect their interests. So yeah, it's a long list of things. So I think I'm going to speak on sustainability now. There is a whole lot on sustainability in fashion. There's a whole movement on sustainability. What would you say are the legal considerations now with the sustainable economy and with sustainable fashion?
Yes, the legal considerations. I think it all boils down to these brands being accountable.
Yes.
I think it's more, the awareness is more of a thing abroad, because if you put as a brand that your outfits are eco-friendly, for example, and maybe a consumer that's very well aware, wears it or looks at the label and sees what kind of products or whatever that you used, they can call you out, and that already puts like a bad name
on the brand.
That, on that brand.
Yeah.
And apart from that, I think sustainability also has to do with like representation.
Yes.
I don't remember the name of the brand anyways, but they put out that they cater to all sizes. And people went to shop there, they couldn't find their size. So they're like,
excuse me.
Did you say that you cater to all sizes? So that brand had to be accountable and actually represents or portray the right representation. So it's the same thing. If you're going to put that you used plastic bags or whatever to make a dress,
Mm-hmm.
then if somebody calls you out, be ready to stand up
And make use of the plastic bags.
Exactly,
That's
make use of plastic bags.
yeah.
If people called out brands more here, I'm guessing
Mm-hmm.
people will be more accountable. I mean, I know there are brands that are that say they're one with sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
They take it very seriously,
Mm-hmm.
but who knows if if it's actually true or not.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, sustainability is like so important in view of like how the world is currently. Like, we need sustainability, especially with clothes. People shop every other day.
Yeah.
Like, and there is a whole lot of dumping. There's a whole lot of, so it's more about the environment. Like,
Taking
it's
care
the
of what is
environment,
ours.
doing things that are right, equally in relating with employees, because I know that there's a whole lot of cheap labor
It's
in
very fashion.
Africa, in Asia, in the Asian market, and it speaks to that also, like with the whole ESG, environmental social governance. Like, it's important that brands equally are conscious of the fact that in working with your employees, you need to have them in good conditions. Right, because even with factories, there was this factory that collapsed and all, and people were working there, and it was just like, it's still something that is crazy up to now to think about, right? In view of the conditions in which the people were working then, right? So it's now about, okay, how can we help the environment, like the world, and also do things right by people. Like you mentioned, even representation. It's just businesses being aware that in running your business, you need to be conscious about the environment, about the society, about the social impact that you need to make, then also about governance. So it's important, like every brand, that you have like a policy as regards to ESG, as it regards to sustainability, because it's beyond you at this point. Fashion is already causing so much damage to the earth, so we have to be conscious of what we do. So it's important that you have like ESG policies in your business. So I think I'll just come down to the industry. As we clamor for structures in businesses, in the industry as a whole, we've gone for several conferences, several seminars, and I'm sure at every event we've had structure. We've had structure. What would you say structure should be like, or should be in the industry? That's in the fashion industry in Nigeria. What should it be like? What do you think it should amount to for the fashion industry?
Okay, I would say, are you referring like in general? Or
Yeah,
like businesses
Mm-hmm.
specifically? Because in general, I think there's a lot of legal, legal progress.
Their businesses, their regulatory bodies, and all of that.
So I guess I would say generally, I guess in the Nigerian legal system, we still have a lot to do with intellectual property, and they always say the law develops with the rest of the things in the world. But I don't think it's really done that, especially in Nigeria. There's still problems with, let's just say, like the Copyright Act in relation to how things are developing, digitally, and the way clothes are being produced.
But sorry to cut you. I think I have a contrasting view in that, like, because I feel that with what we have, we can still like try to get to I know we've gotten to a certain point, but still with what we have, I feel we can still build up. I don't know, that's just my perspective.
No, I mean, of course, I feel like even Western countries, I'm sure they started with what they had, and then
they built up.
They built up. So of course we can do that. I totally agree with that. But I feel like, do we even have that recognition? Because is there like a regulatory body for the fashion industry?
We have Fadan, right? And I'll tell that to a large extent they're pushing, right? It's just I
guess in relation
said
to
right like
music,
1 million times.
I feel like in relation to like the music or entertainment, or, film, let's just say music and film industry, they have more of a unified.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but the fashion industry is not like that.
It's coming to that. It's coming to that. Yeah.
And yes, and I would really love to see that, so that it's taken more seriously. You know, when investors or whoever is interested in fashion industry does come, then they can see that there's some sort of structure, you know,
in place, because we need that. We totally need that, especially like for businesses, just for businesses so that they can actually grow. Because sometimes businesses here are more like lifestyle businesses, not necessarily thinking about continuity, legacy, like you mentioned. And it's important. We need thriving businesses in Nigeria, because that would not just only lead to economic growth, but it will help reduce poverty. And if we can get like will I say the industry and the businesses to the proper height, right? Would have quality job opportunities for people, right? And there'll be the economic growth, reduction of poverty. There's so much that the fashion industry and the beauty industry can do, but it starts with every one of us just trying our very best, or like even the businesses trying their very best. So yeah, I'll totally agree with you on the work on the acts and all, but then us equally taking ourselves seriously and for us to be intentional about what we're doing in view of building the industry. So I'll just come down to like, what would you say is the place of fashion law? Yes, we've been talking about everything fashionable. What would you say is the place of fashion law in the development of fashion businesses and the fashion industry?
I would say, I guess you're talking about like the intersection between, fashion, fashion industry and fashion law. And I would say it comes, well, like where both worlds meet is really after, creativity is being expressed. And so when it's expressed, that's where the law now comes in to protect. So if you're not expressing, your whatever is in your mind, either on paper, in in your products or services, then there's nothing for us to protect. If you're also not trying to be unique in whatever you're producing, then there's also nothing for us to protect. So I do feel like that's where it comes. That's where the intersection is
comes in.
Fashion industry and
I would like to add that I think that fashion law comes in from the presentation of the business. I know you mentioned, I agree that there has to be a design for us to protect. But what about the logo, the brand, the name? When they register it as a trademark, it's always protected, right? So that's fashion. That's also part of fashion law. So whether or not the person has a design or something a work to protect, that's the name, the outfit of the business is already being protected by the laws that's like trademark, CAC,
contracts,
contract and all of that.
To be fair, I think it's at every stage.
It's at every stage,
Law comes it's at every stage, from the beginning, from the top.
In negotiating.
And it's the law still.
Winding up. Because even in negotiating deals and all,
of that. And for the law to I don't know if it's a sad thing, but for the law to protect you, you also have to make yourself known to the law that you need that protection.
Exactly.
Through registering your business that you have this and
being aware.
So if you don't register your business as a trademark, or register your company logo or brand as a trademark or the business in CAC, then how would they know that this is there and it needs to be protected?
And it's just even like generally about being aware that you need this in your business. So most times when we're working with creatives, most times I say that we want people that are running their businesses as businesses and not hobbies. Like if it's a hobby, okay, fine, have the hobby. But if it's a business, that means you're looking forward to having the business as a legacy, having the business grow over time.
Sometimes, that sometimes these things start out as hobbies.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah, definitely.
That's where the guidance will come from.
Comes in.
Because sometimes you're just doing something because you like it and then
True, exactly. That's like from the
something
passion
happens and then
aspect.
it
Yeah.
actually starts gaining a
Traction.
bit of traction and momentum. And
Yeah.
then, okay, this is a business now. This
Yeah,
is not
no, but the thing is, sometimes people don't have that realization.
Yeah.
Like, because, like with businesses, you still have to, will I say, move aggressively with marketing, with sales. And sometimes people don't have that realization that, oh, they need to market, they need to move in sales, like they need to be intentional about the business. For some, it's like, oh, when business comes, it comes. So it's more like you have to be intentional. Because even as a lawyer, I would say the clients that we want to work with is that people that are, they want to grow.
Yeah, deliberate.
Exactly, that's the word. That's the word, deliberate. So I think so you were talking about trademark and I just thought about licensing, the whole idea of licensing and how, to an extent, licensing is a major aspect of fashion businesses, but it seems as if we're not leveraging on it.
In Nigeria?
Yeah, like in the Nigerian economy, it seems as if we're not leveraging on it. So we're just building and we're not thinking about the licensing factor. Some people are licensing, but they are not even aware that, for their IP, they are not licensing in the right way. So would you like to speak on that?
Okay. My knowledge about like licensing agreements. Well, first of all, it's usually like between two people, the licensor and the licensee.
Yeah.
And usually it's the licensor granting the rights to the licensee to make use of their product, either to create something else or to create something and then sell it, or to make use of their IP.
Yeah.
To, something like that. Basically, you're just granting the right to somebody else. And I guess there are different types. So there's the like exclusive licensing agreements where the licensor grants the right to the other party, and it's an exclusive right. So the licensee is not allowed to use that license outside of a particular region. And there's also like the non-exclusive, whereby it's not an exclusive right, and you can grant that right to multiple
parties.
Multiple parties. So I do agree that we don't really make use of it. I feel like people are afraid to almost collaborate in Nigeria because everybody's like, nope, I want to make it on my own. I want to get my profits. Because there's so many brands that I feel like they've done well for themselves and they're still growing, but also a lot of them are quite similar in what they do. So there's nothing wrong with like, working together or also reaching out to someone that maybe produces in a better way. At least one that I know that caters to a lot of brands. I think it's Fossil, because they help like Michael Kors. They grant that right for them to design their watches or certain other products. The things that they've given these people and they've said. Obviously, I'm sure that
it's like delegation. Delegation, but earning through delegation.
And of course, they've taken care or they've made sure that they registered their trademarks. They know that they've done all their homework,
protecting their designs.
They're signing or granting this right. They know that it's either don't use my product past this time, or don't use my products don't sell it as yours. You must sell it under
our name.
Don't use my brand for anything else. So it's also like setting terms in place,
like clear terms.
Exactly.
And something that is very interesting is that apart from the concept of making money through volume, margin, licensing is a way of making money. Like you can
also getting your brand out there
and getting your brand out there, because with licensing, a brand would, so like you mentioned Fossil, there's a payment, there is like revenue in place, they are working on other things, but they're still getting money. Right, it's like having a clear plan and just strategizing, right, so that you can earn in different perspective. I know it comes over time. It's not something that happens overnight, but it's something that businesses should definitely factor in while they're building their business. So I think I'll just come to the final question. So where do you see the fashion industry in 5 years, and how can we attain growth? how can the industry attain growth that we're supporting? Yes, at the moment we're supporting economic growth, right? I said right again. We're supporting economic growth. We're reducing poverty to a certain extent. That's the industry. The industry is creating jobs. I saw on Jobberman that the beauty and the fashion industry has like 2.1 million people employed, right? So it's like how can we attain growth further? What should we have in place? And how do you see the industry in 5 years' time?
So like you said, the fashion industry is growing rapidly. The fashion market in general is growing rapidly, and I've also noticed that a lot of people, are coming up every day with one brand or the other. So I think the thing I mentioned before about putting certain infrastructures in place, either by the government or just us together in the fashion industry, because I know there's a brand that creates jobs in the fashion market. That's
Obsidian, yeah.
And we're here, and there are other people coming up with things
supporting the industry,
different capacities. There are people coming up with like technological
solutions
for the fashion industry. But just all of us working together and making something of the fashion industry would definitely make us progress, over that 5-year span, and of course after that.
I'd like to add that it should be what's the word? You should try and the current body in fashion.
Yeah, further,
should try to create seminar opportunities to educate creatives in how to run their business, how to get protection for their crafts, their work, and to also let them know that that's possible, and also try to have I don't know, I think this is more of a government issue, but to have regulatory bodies that are more specific to the fashion industry, and to help promote it, regulate it, protect it. And for the current legislations we have, like mostly the Trademark Corporate Act, to be reviewed to suit the current situation of the
ecosystem,
the system, and how it is now. Because it's not. Because it's not, and I think that it can be reviewed to suit it, so that the creatives can actually feel like even if these regulations are there, these laws are there, it's actually speaking to my business or my work. It's not speaking to it ambiguously.
They can understand clearly.
So they can understand that it's actually, I can see my work, my business in this. I can see that it's possible for
how this helps me grow equally.
How this helps my business, how this helps my work, and get that support from the government. And I think that once that happens, it's the growth to be progressive, because fashion, like you said, it's growing really fast. I don't think we're lacking in the area of creativity.
Is there? It's plenty.
Yeah, it's plenty. It's the structure, it's regulation, it's the bodies in place to actually enlighten its creatives on the best way to channel their work in the way that will enrich.
And even implementation.
Implementations. Best way for them to present their works for investment, because fashion industry, it's growing quite rapidly in Nigeria, but I don't think Nigeria is appreciating the fashion.
No, it's not. I mean, it's it's just like, in the aspects of art, I'm sure there's so many things that have
it's still categorized as arts to an extent, because the market is not booming.
It's not fashion.
I also feel like the fashion schools should also implement fashion law as a part of their curriculum, because
teach them the ones that are there. They don't that.
They don't respect it as an important area.
I think we have a lot of learning.
Yeah. The gap is, I would say the knowledge gap is massive.
Yeah.
Knowledge
So
gap is.
actually take these things seriously. There's a legal aspect of running a business of my creativity, of my art,
And that supports them with the knowledge, because when they go out, they know that, okay, they're teaching them the creativity part, the business part, but where's the legal part, because they're still going to face it.
Yeah, it's beyond.
I've registered
CAC, and that's the end.
And then the issue of maybe when foreign investors want to come and invest in in a fashion label, a fashion brand, you still have to talk about how much rights you're going to give that company, the investors, and that international
equity,
equity comes into play.
Yeah.
So all of these things,
and we're getting a lot of recognition from outside. But if we don't know these things,
even with the music industry, I know they have like a bit of structure in place and all, but it's still about the government equally coming in place and having regulations catering to what we have, because Afrobeats now, for instance, is global. It's global, and there's so much money in it. And even with the fashion industry, there's so much money in it and possibilities with the industry, and it's just for us to fully leverage on what we have at the moment. So guys, I'll say thank you for being a part of this conversation. I don't know if you have any final thoughts you'd like to share. Any final thoughts?
Just get yourself a lawyer when you start your business, or before you start actually. Here we're preaching the word to help you guys, to create these opportunities to help you thrive in your business. And even when you leave the country, you also need this knowledge. So
yeah, you really do. You need a lawyer from the beginning to the end.
If you decide to wind up mergers and acquisition, family succession,
transactions don't always have to end in disputes.
Yeah.
So you need us.
We're not marketing though.
We're not marketing.
A beggar.
You just need.
Oh my God.
You need the guidance.
Yeah.
Of a legal profession in your business.
Yeah.
Well, not always. They are not always so expensive.
Yeah, because that's usually the fear. Oh, you guys are gonna call millions of thousands of dollars. But calm down.
Calm down. I'm sure you'll find someone that can provide the service according to your budget.
Yeah, so guys, I hope that with this episode, you guys have learned a whole lot. And I'll just implore you all to like, subscribe, drop a comment, let us know what you learned by watching this particular episode. And thank you so much for being a part of the Fashion Law podcast by watching it. Yes, thank you. So I appreciate my guest, and yeah, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you guys at the next episode.